What's up guys, today I am back with the Civic. I'm doing some necessary repairs. What I'm going to be doing to it today is changing out the rack and pinion along with the inner and outer tie rods. Now the inner and outer tie rods are the main concern, but since my power steering unit, my assembly is leaking, I'm going to be deleting the whole power steering assembly and changing out to a manual rack and pinion that came on the base model EK. The inner and outer tie rods do have some play. Whenever I hit some bumps, especially when I'm doing some cornering, the tires have some extra movement in there, so it kind of makes the car uneasy. So I need to really change those out, but I really want to go ahead and just tackle the whole unit itself today and just have a real fresh steering unit. So first thing I'm going to do is jack up the car, get it as high as I can, because I'm definitely going to need some room down there. The car is fully jacked up. I took off the wheels and it's ready to be worked on. The first thing I'm going to start working on is removing the reservoir and the actual power steering pump. Then I'll get on to removing the main pressure line which connects to the rack and pinion. A lot of stuff here, you're going to just have some hose clamps and some 10 mils holding on everything, as well as some 12 mil. I already haven't been running the power steering pump ever since basically I got the car, just because it leaks power steering fluid. I'm going to be deleting this finally, and as well we're going to be getting rid of the bracket that connects onto the block. Let's get started on this. I'm excited just because I like seeing my car or my engine bay being cleaner. Getting rid of this really helps clean up the engine bay. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the main pressure line. That's going to be held down by 210s. I did throw a oil pan down there just in case I start a leak. This off. Just move that out the way. Let's get this power steering reservoir out so it just lifts right out. And then going to have some hoses here, some hose clamps. Then another one, and we got a clip. Now take off the reservoir bracket held on by 210s. This already is looking a whole lot better, just freeing up the engine bay. Now I'm going to get the actual pump off and I'm going to loosen it up. I believe this is a 12. Yep, it's a 12. And of course, like I said, I don't have the belt on here, haven't been running the belt. Boom, there we got the pump out. Pump and the reservoir is out. You can see how much this frees up this area. Now I'm going to get rid of the bracket that holds on to the engine block. I'm going to take off this ground. This ground has to be relocated onto the valve cover. The bolts holding on the bracket are 14s. There's 3 of them. The bracket is fully off. We have everything deleted here. Next little thing I'm going to delete is bracket that holds in the main pressure line. So there's just a 10 over here that holds some of the, I believe it's some of the evap. I'm going to start getting rid of some of these lines. I'm going to disconnect this main pressure line, and we got some brackets that hold on to the subframe. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this little bracket thing that was holding in the rubber hose. There it goes. Just came out. And this hard line being held in by a 10 down here. So there's one 10 holding on to the actual body chassis of the car. And then we got another bracket that is holding in the line. I have a ratcheting wrench. There's the 10 right there. And this hose is completely loose. See if I can get this white clip out. There's the white clip. Get that out. Since you guys aren't really able to see back here while I'm working, I did disconnect the main pressure line. There's a sensor on there, and then if you guys see right here, I don't know if you can, but if you move the line, or if you just follow it, there's a rubber bushing. You could kind of see it right there. I already took off the bracket and the 10 mil that was holding it down. This is what it looks like. And as well, it has a clip that puts the wire harness, or just clips the wire harness in. So take that off. You just follow the return line. It moves right there, and just follow it. That one as well has a bracket that has a 10 mil, and I was able to get that. Not sure if you're able to see it on camera. So now I gotta get down underneath and start disconnecting things. Down here underneath the car, I already disconnected the O2 sensor. You just pull the rubber grommet and then you disconnect it. There's another O2 sensor that's over here. Take that off and take it off of the metal clip that it's on and just disconnect it. So I'm gonna have to take down the header little exhaust setup I have here, because the rack and pinion sits right above here, and the other thing I have to take off is the shift linkage here. Alright, now I'm just going to take off the header bolts, because if you guys saw my previous video of where I fixed my exhaust, these bottom bolts are about to strip, so I don't want to go ahead and strip them. So I got the header bolts off, and I almost forgot, I got to get the bracket bolts. If you guys still have these on, you got to take these completely off, and then after that my exhaust should just fall on off. The exhaust is out of the way here, so getting closer to taking the power steering rack on out. If you guys could see here, I have a manual, so the shift linkage, there's a pin I got to get on out. You got to hit that on out, and then got to get rid of the stabilizer bar too as well. So let me get the stabilizer bar, and then we'll get the pin. Definitely these bushings have to be changed out pretty soon. You see how loose that is. So now time to get this pin out. I did take off a metal clip that surrounds this pin, so you got to take off the metal clip. I do have some punches here. This one seems to fit. This is my biggest punch, and just hit it on out. Might be a little bit hard though. There's the pin right there. Really freed up this area and ready to drop the rack and pinion. Since I'm already down here, I'll be taking off this cover plate here. Looks like it's held on by some 14s. I'm leaving one bolt on there because I just realized it's one of the bolts that's holding up the rack and pinion itself. I need to disconnect the steering column from the rack and pinion. So first thing I'm going to do is take off this plastic that's covering the steering column. Now I got a better view on down here. Got to take off this plastic. It's only held on by some metal rings. This one too, pretty easy. And then over here at the firewall, it does have a clip, so get this off with the steering column, get it off, and then just pull that plastic clip, boom, right there. Now this bolt right here, I'm gonna just go ahead and loosen it. It's a 10 mil. Just take the bolt fully on out, because whenever the rack and pinion comes out, this is going to come out and drop with it. I'm going to be taking off the tie rods off the knuckle, so I'm going to be loosening that. What I've done is I've turned the steering wheel all the way left, and so I'm able to get the inner tie rod. I was able to find this crow's foot wrench, 1 5/16 that kind of fits it, and it should be able to take off the inner tie rod. Back underneath the car, time to get the rack and pinion fully out. Now if you look over here, if you guys can see a hard line connected, that is going to be the main pressure line, so you got to get that one off. That one looks to be like a 14, but of course you're going to have to use a line wrench, and it's probably going to be pretty hard. Right next to it, there's like a clamp with a rubber hose. That's going to be your return line, so more than likely I'm going to get the return line off first, since that's going to be the easiest. I'm not sure how much is going to be able to be seen on camera since it's way up in here. I'll have the camera rolling. Hopefully I get something. Here's the return line in the bottom here. This is where it's connected to the rack. So this would be by the wheel well, and then it loops into the rack. And you take that off. Just have the clamp on there, and then you got the main pressure line. And you got that hard line. Thankfully this wasn't super hard. Sometimes they're really hard on there, real rusted. But this one, I guess it had grease on there, so it kept it from rusting. 2 bolts that came off with the plate, and the only thing holding it in are these 2 14s with a bracket, and the rack should come fully out. So let's get it. Here it is, the rack and pinion is fully out. Now the thing I had trouble with, or I should have taken off, is the steering linkage. Take it fully on off, take the lower bolt and slide it. And then the other thing, like I said, there is that return line, and you're going to get the hose clamp to get it off. But on there, there's a nipple that connects into the rack and pinion. The nut on there is a 17, so gonna have to get that fully off, because whenever you're taking the rack and pinion and it drops down, it's going to start hitting on a piece of metal and won't let it completely fall down. As well as for this doesn't let you have enough room to kind of twist the rack and pinion out. But you're going to turn the rack and pinion fully left, and that should allow it to drop down on the passenger side. Then turn it fully right, and that should allow it to drop over here on the driver's side, and you shouldn't have any issues. So that is everything you need to take off: inner outer tie rods, main pressure line, pump, bracket to the motor, the return line, reservoir. Takes a little bit of time to get every little bolt, clip, and bracket out. Back here is the manual rack and pinion that I purchased brand new from Rock Auto. You can see the brand here, New Advantage, part number N205-0106. Comes with the inner tie rods as well as the bellows here. There's also some other parts which I'll show you right now that we're going to be needing for the full manual conversion. So in order for the manual steering to fully work, other than the manual rack and pinion and the inner tie rods, you're going to need a steering joint. I got this one from a 93 Honda Del Sol. I'll get you guys the part number that would work. I got this one off of eBay. This one cost me about $80. The other part you're going to need, I bought this from Honda. It's a 53503 SB2010. And again, I'll put everything in the description below. But this is just like a rubber seal. This other piece you'll need is like a plastic spacer, 53504 SR3A00. And I did purchase these Moog outer tie rods from Rock Auto, ES3331R and then ES3332R. and should be a left and a right here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna need to use this or not, or if you have to purchase this new or not, but this is another seal that goes up against the firewall, 53501 SR3000. I don't believe that part is fully necessary, but I will be reusing this seal as well, which is goes up against that other seal on the firewall. So the plastic spacer and the rubber seal just going to go on here. Now this rubber piece, I try to clean it up as much as I could. Rubber piece will just go right on. What I did here is I just took off the bellows. I took that off so I could take off the inner tie rod, so I'll be able to get this rack and pinion on in pretty much using the same way that I got the other one out. This one should be easier because it's smaller and has less stuff over here that could get in the way. Underneath the car, which is very nasty, you see how much dirt just came on off. And now it's nice and clean, ready for the new rack and pinion to be installed. Spent a lot of time just cleaning that on up, man. Cleaned up this area here where the steering column for the steering shaft, and I'm going to be using this new gasket. You could reuse your old gasket from the power steering one. It's the same thing, so I'm going to just install this. Alright, cool. So the seal is on there. Now the car is prepped up, and I'm going to be installing the rack and pinion here into the car. Again, it's just going to be reversed, so I'm going to turn it all the way right so I could get in this side, and then I'll turn it all the way left so I could get in the passenger side. And then can't forget to get this rubber piece here, this rubber seal that goes up against the other seal I just installed. And then for right and for left, so of course we are left-hand drive unless you have a right-hand drive car. It is the next day. It's just started getting dark and just wet last night. So the rack and pinion is in its place. Everything cleaned up. I had showed you, and I do have the inner tie rods just loosely put in here. I still have to go ahead and tighten them on down, and then I'll put on the rubber boot and the clamp that goes around and everything. So I think that's what I'm going to start off doing here, and just start getting this thing buttoned up, because I do have to go get alignment. Hopefully I could do it here today. The inner tie rod is completely on. It's tightened down. I have the boot on there, and I have this little clamp that holds it on, or the boot on there. So now I'm going to put the outer tie rod, and this is going to be the Moog ES3331R. First I'm going to put the nut on, the locking nut. Here we have the outer tie rod. I already put on this Zerg fitting for the grease, and so just go ahead and screw this on. On the driver's side, going to be using the outer tie rod ES3332R. Now I tighten down the locking nut, And then I did torque down the castle nut here to 35 foot-pounds and put on the cotter pin onto the threads there. As far as the rack and pinion goes, everything is good to go. I still haven't installed the steering linkage onto the steering column just yet. I'm gonna wait to put on the wheels for that, just so I make sure it's as straight as possible. As far as for the alignment, right now I just kind of copied what's on the auto rack on the inner and outer tie rods and just try to duplicate it. I'm gonna go right away to go get alignment, so it's not gonna really be an issue. Since this is finished up, I'm gonna go ahead and start on the shift linkage and put that back onto the transmission. The shift linkage is fully on, got the 12mm bolt, and that pin is fully in. And then I did clean up the shift linkage a tad bit there because everything down here is just real nasty. So as I worked on the car, I just try to clean it all on up. And it's looking a whole lot better down here though, for sure. So I guess I forgot to press the record button, but I was able to get the header on up. It was way easier than getting it off for some reason. And I did also plug up the O2 sensor already, and everything is on its clip. And the secondary O2, that one is plugged up. So now I just need to bolt it on up on the top side at the block on the head. So things are looking good in the engine bay. Exhaust is all fully bolted up. For the most part down here, we are finished up as far as putting in the rack and pinion, reinstalling all the parts. What I'm gonna do real quick, I'm gonna do a quick oil change, so I'm just gonna speed that through. So I changed out the filter, drained the oil, and just put about 3 quarts of oil for now until I could fully get the car down on level ground. I did as well clean the wheels on up real quick, just kind of get that brake dust off of them. So now I'm going to be throwing the wheels on and getting this thing on the ground finally. Before I lower the car, I have the wheels on and I put them what I believe to be straight. Now I have yet to put the steering linkage on just yet, so I'm gonna be doing this right now. If you take the bolt on out, fully on out, this linkage is able to travel all the way up and you're able to slide it onto the actual rack and pinion here. So let me go ahead and get that done and just make sure the steering wheel is straight whenever you do put it on. The steering linkage is on and the column cover, linkage cover, whatever you want to call it, is on, along with these metal bands or clips that held it on there with the little clip down there also. So now I'm going to just put in the lower dash panel and we should be good to go as far as the interior. Boom, dash panel is in. Of course, you just got the 3 screws, one over here, one down here, and then the other one down over there. So that is all in and interior is finished up. Let's get this thing down on the ground. Car is on the ground, the wheels are all torqued down, and I did spend a little bit of time just with the brush real quick and clean up some of this dirt grime that was here at the power steering pump in the engine bay. So it looks a whole lot better in here, man. So I'm about to go take the car to go get an alignment. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. I'll be able to drive the car after give you guys my thoughts and review of the conversion. Alright, so here we are in the car. I'm just going to be showing you guys how difficult it is to turn the steering wheel, and as well how many turns it is lock to lock. Right now the steering wheel and the tires are dead straight, and we are on flat even ground. And so just going to be turning left to right and just be counting how many turns it is lock to lock. First I'm going to go left. Again, we're dead straight. One full turn. That's about 1 3/4. There we are, back to straight, and just going to be turning it right. It should just be the same amount of times, but just for the video. Again, 1. Alright, so about 1 3/4 again. There it is, guys, before the manual conversion. Hopefully you're able to see the level of difficulty. Again, we're stationary on flat even ground. Whenever you're rolling, it gets easier to turn, and you know, I haven't looped the lines or anything like that. So there it is. Manual conversion is complete, and the alignment has been done on the car. We're on flat even ground, not moving. Gonna go to the left first. 1 full turn. 2 full turns. And now to the right. 1, 2. Just slide over 2 there. So about 4.1 full turns lock to lock. So the turn ratio has increased, but the strength to turn the steering wheel has decreased. So there it is, the power steering to the manual conversions. As you guys saw from the before and after, the manual rack and pinion has a bit more turns from lock to lock compared to the power steering rack and pinion lock to lock. The other conversion that you can do if you want to do power steering, or if you want to convert it to manual, is getting the EK rack and pinion and then grabbing a rack and pinion from an Integra, from a I believe it's 93 to 2000 it is, and you get the pinion from the rack and pinion and swap it into the EK, and people say that lock to lock is 3 turns, so about 1.5 turns each side from left to right. So that's a pretty good conversion. That's probably something I'll do in the future, but of course, like I said, you do have to grab another rack and pinion in order to make this swap work, or to make the modification work. Now, I did already get the car aligned, and I have drove it probably about 200 miles, and I mean, compared to the other rack and pinion and the other inner and outer tie rods, I mean, this thing feels solid. You know, I've taken on some pretty fast turns, and it just feels good, man. That's all I could say. You know, going from a worn out rack and pinion, putting on a new one, and also with the K-tuned upper control arms, and I did install the OEM ball joints. I mean, this thing feels good. Next thing I gotta do is work on the rear, because on the turns I still kind of feel a little bit of vibration, and I feel like the tires are kind of like buckling a little bit from the toe. So that's something I'm going to be tackling here in the near future. Now, this did save probably about, I would say, 10 to 15 pounds off of the car, and as well as you guys saw, it cleaned up the engine bay. So overall, I'm excited about the conversion, and just making the car look clean, making it lighter, making the car something that could perform and give reliability. So I'm pretty excited. Drop a comment down below if you guys have any questions, and make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, because as you guys should know by now, I'm going to keep pushing out these videos, and I got tons of projects for you guys. So I'm going to catch you on the next one, player.